Alright guys, today I'm going to make a tutorial on how you can make lever puzzles and somewhat more advanced lever puzzles for your own custom stories, so that you can make puzzles where you have to put a lever up and down and a combination of several levers maybe. I have this little demonstration right here that I'm going to show you, so that if you see that this is what you're looking for, then you can look at the tutorial that comes after, so that you can follow along and find out how to do it if you don't know already. I guess I could just show you what I got here. Right here we got a locked door. Right here we got this this mount for the lever that is lying over here. So let's just pick up this, and there are several ways to attach this. I just use a very simple one that whenever you take it close it'll just snap on. There are other ways, but this is a very common way and a very simple basic way that I mean, it works. Might not look the best, but it works. So you can attach it like that if you'd like. Of course you don't need to, you can already have a lever. And now I made so that whenever you take this lever down, it doesn't do anything and up. If you take it down, it'll unlock the door. It'll also make the lever stuck, so that because if you don't make it stuck, you will be able to execute the event that happens when you take it down a second time, unless you of course use code to prevent that, and this is one of the ways you can prevent that, by making the lever stuck in the down position. But if you make it loose again, you can still use like variables to make so it doesn't happen again. However, I made it stuck instead, and then I play the sound here to make the door unlock, to indicate that it made the door unlock. And over here we have the other puzzle that I'm going to show. Don't mind these, I just didn't take enough time to actually make this look very nice. But basically what happens here is that whenever both of these levers are up at the same time, it's going to execute the event. So it doesn't matter whatever you have them, you need to get them both in the right combination. So if you have them both up, it's just going to execute this little weird thing that I did. Of course this makes no sense, but of course what you can do is totally up to you. You just need to know where to put the code to execute whatever you want to happen. Like if you want a door to unlock, you put that there instead of whatever I had, which was destroy the door and make some light. And yeah, so these are also no longer able to take out and down, because if you were able to put these back down and back up without putting variables in your code, you will be able to execute it again, and therefore it would create another particle and it would play the music again in relevance to this example. But of course in your situation it would probably be different, but you usually don't want it to repeat. But anyways, I'll show you how to make that, and now let's get over to the tutorial. Alright, so let's do this now. Let me just say a few things to begin with. That if you are missing any of the base custom story files that I'm going to be using in this video, you can download a set in my description, which should include the essential files that you need, and then you can just edit those yourself. If you're using a Windows computer, then you can still follow along in this tutorial, because the scripting and level editing is the exact same, so it shouldn't really matter. Let's just open up the Amnesia root folder. I have a shortcut, but you should be able to know where to find it. If you're making custom story, you probably already know. So I'm gonna go into custom stories, and here is my base custom story folder. And basically what we're going to be using today is only the scripting and let me just delete that. The scripting and the map file, of course. So first of all, you gotta make a map, so let's start by just opening the level editor. I already have a shortcut right here, but again, you should be able to know where to find this. So I'm just gonna open this level 12.map that I have, and this is just the same map that I used in the example, except I stripped it of all of the essential parts. So it's basically just an ordinary map with nothing special in it, except for this piece over here, but it doesn't matter, that's just for the design of it. But anyways, so let's just add a few things into this level and then we can script it up later. So let's start by adding, of course, the most essential things and what you're actually going to see. So let's go to entities and drop down to door and just find whatever door you want, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to be using the sewer arched inside here. So there we have that, and after that you want to select the door and give it a name. Well, you don't have to, but usually you want to, because it's the default name might be a little random. So I'm just going to call it door to keep things simple. So this is now door instead of sewer door or underscore whatever. So that's door, just because we're going to use it in the scripting, so it's usually a good idea to give it a name. And now the next entity that we are going to be needing are found in the gameplay section, and here you will find the levers and stuff. So let's go down. I believe it's called lever small, this one, lever small underscore 01, no wait, underscore small 01, and basically you can just place this wherever you want. This is the lever that is actually going to execute it, so I'm just going to place it up on the wall, rotate it up here like that, and I'm gonna give it a name and I'm gonna call it lever, and there it is. So basically this is the lever that unlocks the door. It doesn't have anything to do with the attachment or whatever. This is the lever that unlocks the door, but if you want it to be detached, you can disable this one by setting active to false, and it will now be inactive, and it will only activate as soon as you put the lever on it. So if you want to attach it or detach it, you have to do it with this particular lever, because the other ones aren't really detachable. Of course, it's not restricted to this, but if you can find a way to do it with the other ones, I guess. But this is the only one that comes with a detachable one. So the easiest way to actually place the basically what you need here is you need these two entities separated. So, and those are actually in the same folder. So basically you need the why can I always forget that, the mount. So basically you need the mount to be active there, but not the lever, because the lever is going to be active somewhere else, for example over there. So the easiest way to place the mount at the exact same location is to just duplicate the object by Control D, and it will give it a new name. So I'm just going to name it mount, and this one is going to be active, but it's not going to be the same entity. So if you want to change the entity, you click on this little browser down here by entity file, and you can just select small mount instead, and this will now be the mount. You might need to rotate it though, because they have different default rotation points, but it will be in the exact same location. So there you have it. And now there is the whole lever, and we have the mount itself. The mount is going to be active until the lever piece, which is another entity that you can find in here, which is the lever underscore lever. You can just place this wherever you want. Let's just place it right there. And basically what you need to do to, well, we just make a little collision check on here, and whenever you take the lever over here close to this mount, it's going to deactivate both of those and activate the one that is already here. So if you do not want to use this detachment thing, you can just skip all of this and just keep this, the whole piece, active to begin with, and then you can just use that from there. Now, to actually make this collide with there, you could of course make a collision with this entity colliding with this entity. Actually, I haven't tried that. Maybe I should try that. But if you can also use an area, so by using a script area it's a little easier, but the bigger the area, the more choppy it could look, because it's going to be less precise. So if you make a very small area in front of it, it could look a little better, like this. So I'm just going to make that a small script area right there, and I'm going to give it a name, area connect. And now we have that. So, oh, and one more thing, I'm going to lock the door by going to entity locked. So now it is locked and we cannot go through it. So that is the first part of the puzzle, basically. There's one more thing though. On the actual lever itself, you want to go in entity and you see connection state change callback. This is the callback that we're going to use to actually trigger this. So you want to write a function name in here. You can just write whatever you want. I'm going to write puzzle, and that will be the name of my function that's going to unlock the door. Actually, let's call it unlock door. Unlock door, just like that. Unlock door is very easy to remember. So unlock door, whenever you basically connection state change callback. This is triggered whenever the state of this lever is changed, as you might have from the name. Anyways, basically, if this lever is put up, down, or back to normal, which is middle, it's going to trigger this event. But therefore, we're only going to make it trigger as soon as you put the state to down, which is 1. So therefore, you're going to use an if statement. If the state is 1, open the door. And yeah. So that is everything for the first part, actually. Level editor wise, but the level editor has pretty much most of it. There's just a little bit of scripting. And now we can go over to this one. Actually, let's just script up this one and come back to that one when we're done, to make things a little easier to follow along, perhaps. So I'm going to save the map now, and let's minimize this and go over to scripting. Alright, so if you do not have a script file, you can just make a text file with the .hps extension. Just make sure it actually saves as an HPS file and not HPS text. Or if you have trouble, you can just download a file from my description and just duplicate it to whatever you have. And here we have this file. I'm going to place it on the side. And this is a file of everything that I wrote down for the actual scripting that I showed in the example. So this is basically all the script that we're going to be using, except for this part. This is what we're going to be using, and I'm going to go through it and explain how it works and everything, so that you will probably understand how it works, I hope. It's best to understand how it works instead of that it works, because then you will more likely be able to use it in your own situations. So yeah, let's just start by doing the most essential thing. You probably already have this in your script file, but if it's completely new, then you might just want to write void on start parentheses brackets, and that is the very default function that every script file basically has, or you most likely want in every script file, which is executed when you start a map. So this is basically the root of everything. So if you are having trouble with any of the functions that I'm going to be using, even myself, I usually refer to this page that I will link in the description, which is the engine scripts, and this is a list of all of the functions that you have available in the Amnesia game scripting world, whatever. And I have personally read through this whole thing, and it really helps to know what you can do by reading through the whole thing. But then again, it is very much so. But anyways, if you know a name of a function, you can just Command or Control F to find it, and you can just look at the parameters or whatever you need to actually make that work. So it's very useful, and I'm going to be referring to it a few times myself. Yeah, so I'm just letting you know that it's there. And now, first of all, we want the collision check. So since we're going to attach the lever, we want that to happen first. That's like the first thing that happens before we can even pull the lever. So I'm going to go on this page, and I'm going to Command F and find collide. Add entity collide callback. And this is a function that makes a check for whenever an entity collides with another entity. So yeah, it just makes it execute the fact that it's going to attach. So just put that on start, and now we got to define the parameters inside here. So basically everything inside the parentheses between the commas and everything are different parameters. So the first one is a string, so put double quotes, and inside those quotes you want to put the name of the first entity that's going to be colliding. So entity 1 is going to collide with entity 2, and what entity 1 is in this case is the handle. Did I even give that one a name? Let's go back to the script file. I don't think I gave it a name. No, I did not give it a name. Let's call it handle, like that. And I'm going to save the file again. So the handle and the mount are going to collide. Well, in my case, I'm going to collide with the area in front so that it's more easily registered, because if it's colliding with this thing, it could be a little tricky, perhaps. I haven't actually tried it. Let's just try that a little later just to see how it works. But anyways, we want the handle to be inside the first quotes, and the second string or parameter is the second object. So this should be the mount. Just make sure that all of the names match the names of the ones in the level editor. And the third string is the function. So this can be whatever you want, and just call it something that you can refer to. So I'm going to call it attach lever, and that's going to be the name of my function. And the last two are just defining how this is executed. So if it's going to be executed several times, put it to true, and it will only happen once. Int al states is when it's going to happen, whenever it enters the area or leaves or whatever. Put it to 1 on enter. So yeah, that's basically it for that function, and it's going to execute attach lever as soon as these two collide. Actually I'm going to rename this to area, what did I call it again? Area connect. So area connect. Whenever handle collides with the area in front of the mount, it's going to attach it to the mount. So that is it for the first part, and now we want to make this attach lever function. And whenever you make a new function, you always type just void, and I keep mistyping it. Just type void and the name of the function, attach lever in my case, remember capitals, and then you want the parameters inside parentheses at the end. And the parameters are different for every function, but if you look at the engine scripts page, you'll always find them below as the syntax, callback syntax. So you can just copy it from there if you do not remember them, and just paste them into your code. It's what I usually do if I don't remember it. Just paste it in right there. And then you want to open and close the code block, and inside here, this is what's going to happen. And basically, to make things really simple, I'm just going to type it down, but you can look it up on the page if you like. Set entity active, and inside of the parameters, the first one is the entity name. So and the second one is whether or not it's going to be active. So true, active, false, inactive. And what we're going to do here is just disabling the handle and the mount, and enabling the actual lever that is inside the mount, because it's inactive at the moment. So set entity active, I'm just going to set entity active lever, which is the complete thing, to true, and that will enable that thing. But we also want to disable the other ones. So set entity active, and if you do type as parent in here, parent, it will refer to the parent name of the callback calling this event. So as parent will refer to this, which will refer to the as parent string. So basically on runtime it will replace as parent with whatever is inside here, handle. So it basically makes the code a little more flexible if you need it. Of course you can, instead of using as parent, you can type quotes and handle in again, but I usually prefer to do it this way, but you don't have to, of course. And we want this to be false, and let's just copy that line, paste it below, and we want the double quotes mount to be false as well. So basically what happens now, it just disables this disables this and enables this. And that's basically everything that happens at this moment in this function. So that's what happens so far. And the next thing, you can click on the actual entity, let's see, the lever itself. This is what's going to unlock the door. And on the entity tab, you probably wrote this already or not. Unlock door on the connection state, change callback. And basically that's going to launch the unlock door void function whenever you change the state of it. So we're going to have to type that into the code as well. So outside of the other voids, just type a new void and the name of what you typed, unlock door, and then you need the parameters. If you hover over here, it'll say what the parameters are. It might be a little different from the actual thing, but you can find the same function on the page and copy it from there if you like. Alright, so we had a little bit of a random cut right here, but let's get back into this. Basically, yeah, you need to type in the parameters of the function that you just made, and you hover over here, you should be able to find them. It says syntax void func and or func, and function is replaced with what you type in here, unlock door, in your script file that is, and then there are parameters with inside the parentheses, and you can basically just type those in if you'd like. If you don't want to type it in, you could just go on the engine scripts page and you could just look up connection state change callback as the text version of it, because you could use that instead, and the syntax should be located right below it, so you can just copy paste that if you like. Now if you want to type it in, of course, you could basically just type in whatever it said in the syntax of the level editor. Certain things in these parameters are customizable. Some of them need to be as they are. Basically, you need to define what kind of value it is, if it's a string or an int, for example. But what the name of it or the alias is, you could define yourself. But most people tend to use it default, but you can change it. So I'm going to show you how you can change this, although you don't need to. So basically, the parameters for this one is string and in as entity and int al state. So basically these are the parameters. If you go and copy paste them, it'll look like this. What you can define in here, it needs to be a string and it needs to have this. I'm not sure exactly what this is for, but you need to have this in. But this is the alias, and you can potentially just change this if you like, and you can also change al state to this is just if you look at, as I typed up here, it says as parent. This refers to as parent because it says as parent here. However, you can change this to whatever you like. Just make sure that these two match actually. As parent is just the default name for it, so that it knows what it's kind of explaining what it refers to. It refers to the parent in this function. But you can type whatever you like in here and use it instead. So let's keep this one a little more customizable. Let's call it, instead of calling it al state, let's call it lever state. And basically that, I mean, you by now you probably already know what al state is or whatever, but I'm just gonna type lever state instead, so that it could look a little more easier to understand if you're just reading through it, because we're gonna use an if statement with this. So let's just start off with that. So if parentheses, inside here you want to type the name of the int alias that you just typed. If it have a default, it should be al state. If you changed it, type whatever you change it to, lever state. If lever state equals 1, so basically if the lever is in state number 1, it's going to execute whatever is inside this block that I am making right here. So inside here it's going to execute only if the lever is in state 1, which is basically down. So I just feel like I need to really explain that these need to be the same. If you don't want to change them, you don't need to. You can just keep it al state if you like. And now inside here, this is what is going to happen when you pull this thing down. So basically there are three things we want to happen. First of all, we want to unlock the door, and second of all, we want to play a sound to indicate that you unlock the door, and third of all, we want to make so that you cannot unlock the door several times by pulling it down, because like it won't really unlock several times because it's already unlocked, but it will play the sound every time you pull it down. So unless you use another if statement if the door is unlocked or whatever, but let's just do it like this. So first of all, we want to search up set swing door locked. This is a function for unlocking or locking normal swing doors. Swing doors are basically just a door you can grab and swing around with. And paste it into your code, and the first string is the name of the door. So basically inside here you don't need to put the quotes. If you type as entity, it'll refer to the entity that this actually no, we're using the lever. If you put as entity here, it's actually going to refer to the lever, so that wouldn't work. We want to put door in here, door, so just like that. And boolean, whether it's locked or not, true will be locked and false will be unlocked, so we wanted to put it to false. This last one, I honestly don't know exactly what it does. I'm just going to put it to true. It's some kind of effects. Perhaps if I put it to false I would notice something missing, but I don't know exactly what it does, but it's not the most important part anyways. Put it to true or false or whatever you want. I'm going to keep it true. Now the next one, play sound at entity. This function, play sound at entity, it basically just plays a sound at an entity, as it says. Yeah. Do you want to paste that into your code as well? And this will basically play the unlock sound. So because if you don't put this in, it's going to be completely quiet when you unlock the door, and you might, like the player wouldn't know that it just unlocked the door if you don't hear the sound of unlocking a door. So first of all, the parameter for the sound is the sound name. This is the internal name that the engine uses to refer to it, and since we're only going to use it once, I'm not going to type anything in there because we're not going to refer to it. The second string is the sound file, so you want to type in these quotes, unlock door. You can put .snt as the extension. I don't think you actually need it. It should still work if you exclude it. I like to keep it in though, but whatever. Then there's the entity you want to play the sound effect on. So again, type door. You want the door, you want the sound to be played at the door, because basically it just defines where it's played from depending on how far away you are from the sound or in what direction you're looking. So it's basically like 3D. You would be able to distinguish where the sound comes from without actually knowing. So, and then there's the float fade time, and you want to put the fade time to 0 and the save sound to false, because this is as it is, like once in a playtime, once in a lifetime sound. It's not going to be very in-depth, so it's just going to play once and then we're done with it. So you can just keep those. Those are basically just for defining it even further if you're going to use them several times. Now, the last one thing that we're going to add is to make sure that this doesn't happen several times. So if you look up set lever stuck state, if you look this up on the EngineScript page, you can copy that line right there and you can paste it into your code, and basically this will set the lever stuck in a state so that you will not be able to pull it up and down anymore. And basically inside here you want to type the name of the lever, but since we're using the lever to currently call this event, you could type as entity in here instead of typing the name of the lever, because this will refer to as entity, which will refer to the lever, not this one though, but the lever that we actually typed the unlock door function into in the editor. So since we typed unlock door in the lever entity in the level editor, as entity basically means the lever, so you can type as entity. And then there's the state. Again, you can type lever state with capitals, remember that's very important. And this will refer to the current state that is being used. So basically you could just, if you just type number 1, you could just put number 1 in here. Basically if that's the same as this one, it's going to do the exact same as this, but basically if you type lever state, it's going to make the lever stuck in the state it currently is in. So it basically, if you change this one to like -1, you wouldn't need to change this because this will make it stuck in the state it currently is in, so it would be -1 instead. But if you put this to 1 and this to -1, it's going to be stuck in state 1 while it only executes on -1, so it will look very weird by just flipping over to the other side and being stuck there. So personally I prefer using these things because it makes it more it gives it a nice flow in the script. Of course, you don't need to. If you find it hard to understand, you just use whatever you feel like you want to. So you can just type number 1 in here if you like. Although learning using these things is very, very efficient once you get to know it. And the last one, I'm just going to type true. It's the effects. Same thing with the door. I don't even know exactly what it does, but I guess I would notice something missing if I didn't have it to true. So now, after we put all that, I'm just going to save the file, and be sure to save the map if you haven't already. And now we're going to start up the game and see how it all looks. It should be able to work now. Here we are in the map already. So first of all, door is locked. We can't go through there. Lever. As soon as it collides with the area that is close to this mount, it's going to just quickly attach, just like that. And I suppose it's probably best to put a sound effect as it attaches so that it will actually sound like it's attaching and not just popping on. Because, yeah, you know, small details usually make the big difference. So now, since we made this one only execute when you put it in state 1, it's not going to do anything when you put it up. It's only going to do something when you put it down. And now the lever is stuck in the state it currently was in when it executed this, basically down. And you can still grab it, but you can't really put it out of the state. And you probably already heard the sound effect, and the door is now unlocked. So basically that's how you can do unlocking doors with levers. And I'm still going to go over to this part in a sec, but if you want a little more about this, I made a little something in the bookshelf video towards the end where you can still use the lever, putting it up and down, but it won't execute the event several times, but using variables. If you want that, for example, let's say you want the door to be locked when you put it up and unlocked when you put it down, like several times, you could use variables to define that instead. So you can go look at that video, I suppose, and perhaps get an idea how that works. Now let's get over to this puzzle where you need several ones in this certain state to execute the event. Alright, let's go over there. Alright, so for this part of the puzzle, which is this is more of a puzzle and not just a trigger, we're going to use 2 levers. You can use as many levers as you want, but I'm going to use 2 levers because it basically just shows the same thing. So I'm going to go on entities, back on gameplay, and I'm going to use a special kind of lever. Gameplay's up here. Let's see if I can find it. I don't remember. I think it was called elevator something. Maybe it's not even in here. I think it's not. Damn it. I don't think it's in here. It's in special control room. This machine. Not remember about this. Where is it? It is here. I know it is here. Somewhere. Piston lever. This one. Okay. That took way too long. Anyways, basically I'm going to use these levers, and these are kind of special because they only have 2 states. They don't have the middle state. They lack that one. So I'm going to use this one, but you can basically use pretty much any lever, but some levers function a little differently. So just be aware of that. You could test around and see if it works. If it doesn't, then you might have to tinker around a little to make it work. But alright, so I'm going to name this lever just lever 1. We already have lever, so I'm going to just call this one lever 1 and duplicate it, place it over here, and call this one lever 2. So basically these are the levers that are going to execute this specific puzzle once both of them are in the correct position. So let's say when this one is up and this one is down, it's going to execute the puzzle, or the solution of the puzzle, or the result of the puzzle. It's not going to execute if they're not in the state that you want them to be. And you can have as many levers as you want though, so just to show that this can be a much bigger than it looks. It's just 2 levers in the example, but you can use as many as you want. Now let's go in the entity tab on both of these, and in the connection state change callback you want to type the same function in both of them. So puzzle, this is where I was going to use that. So just type in puzzle in this on both of them, puzzle, and basically that's going to execute the puzzle function just like we did unlock door, but we're going to use an if statement. Basically, if both of them are in the state you want them to be, it's going to do it like that. So it's kind of similar to what we've already done, but yeah, it does work a little differently. So basically what happens after this puzzle, I mean, it's totally up to you what you want to happen. So I'm probably just gonna blow up the door or something. And that is actually all we need right now. So you can just save the map, and that is all we need in the map. So I'm gonna minimize that. Now we want to make, in the script file, we want to make the function that we just typed, void puzzle. It has the same parameters as the previous one because it's the same kind of function, so you can just copy and paste it right there if you like. Make a block, and inside the block this is what we are basically going to check for. So first of all, let's open up this engine script page, and you can search up this function called getLever state. GetLever state will basically return a lever state. So basically it'll replace getLever state and the name of the lever with a number, and that number we're going to compare with another number. So it's only going to execute if the number of the lever is the same as what we want it to be. So first of all, we're not gonna just put it in right here. We need it to be in an if statement, or else it won't really do much. So if, and then parenthesis opening, closing as well, I suppose, but let's, inside there we want to paste this in, and make sure you don't include the semicolon. Get lever state, name of the lever, lever 1. We also want to get the other one. So if you type like enter here, and you type double and signs, so and this will basically add to the question, to the if question. So basically both of these questions need to match before it can be executed. So I'm gonna paste in if get lever state again in here. I'm gonna type lever 2. So basically if lever 1 and lever 2 both, actually you type an equals on both of them. So on the first one, if lever 1 equals state -1, and lever state lever 2 equals 1. If you see how this works, it basically just does so that the block that follows this, let's just make it a complete block like this, and inside here we're going to execute the puzzle, whatever function you want to in your puzzle, whatever. If the state 1 is -1, and if lever 2 is 1, as I said earlier, 1 is down and -1 is up. Actually with these levers they work a little different. I think actually it's the opposite, so -1 is like down, but anyways, we'll find out of that. So basically you can just copy this line and put it as many times as you want under here, and you can have as many levers as you want to be in the same state. Just make sure you don't copy the closing parenthesis at the end, because that's part of the first opening one. So it needs to be at the end of the very question. So inside here, this is what we're going to execute. So I'm just going to do set prop health and the door to 0, and basically that will just destroy the door, just to show that this actually is executing, because yeah, so if the door explodes, that means that this actually works. So I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to do anything more, and I'm just going to launch the game, because this video is quite long already, so I'm just going to make it a little quicker. So let's go back in. Not that one, no. Alright, so let's just go through what we already have. Attach, down, opens. Now these two, one of them needs to be up, the other one needs to be down. Let's see if this is it. That was not it. There it goes. So that basically does that. Although you want to put the lever stuck state thing on both, because right now you can pull them, you can still pull them, and if you put it back down, it's basically gonna execute the whole thing again. Since the door is no longer here, it doesn't really do that. But some functions or some events are very noticeable if they are executed several times. So let's go and do that. Basically, you just want to copy set lever stuck state here. So we want both of them to be stuck. So therefore, as entity doesn't exactly work because it will only make one of them stuck. So I'm going to type lever 1 in the one and lever 2 in the other one. And it'll basically make them stuck in... I'm going to type the same as up here because lever state, again, it wouldn't really work since we're using two levers. So I'm going to make lever 1 stuck in -1 because that's what it is right here. So it'll basically be pretty simple. And the other one is 1. And save. And basically that'll make so that you can't execute it several times. And one more thing, I suppose we could just find a sound file to play when you attach the lever, like up here. Let's go and look for a sound file actually. Amnesia the Dark Descent root folder. You can find the sounds folder. There are many sounds in here, so it could be take a while to find something, I suppose. But let's see. Let's use this one, pickaxe charge. It's basically like crouching or whatever. I don't know. It sounds like this. So it's quite a simple sound effect. So I'm just gonna copy pickaxe charge.snt to my clipboard, and then I'm gonna go back here and I'm going to, well, let's just paste it in right there because then I'm gonna have to copy this as well. Play sound identity. Copy that. We want that to play here, there. So we want the sound that is going to be played instead of unlock door, it's going to be pickaxe _ charge, and we want it to play at the lever and stuff like that. So I'm gonna save that, and basically it'll look more like this time instead. Of course, the sound, I guess I kind of skipped through that sound file at the end a little. Didn't explain much what I did, but I basically just found a sound file and I made it play when you attach it. Like that. So I don't think this sound effect really fits in. You could find another one that fits better to just attach it, like a little dunk or something. And now unlock the door like that. This one goes down, this one goes up. It breaks the door, and you can no longer take them. You can still interact with them, but you can't take them out of the state. So basically you cannot execute the event again. And yeah, I think that's actually all I need to explain in this video. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them. I do read all the comments, and I try to help if you need any help. And otherwise, I will thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate if you would like it, if you found it helpful in any way, shape or form. And otherwise, I will see you later with another video, I suppose. Alright?